Hey, what's going on, everyone? Boylon here, and I wanted to talk to you guys today about Minnerva. We got a surprise mail in our inbox last night about July being a Minnerva calendar, and also with an increase of 55 shards instead of the usual 40. I want to say this is surprisingly generous by the hands of Scopely, and which, in case people weren't aware, that today is the official day of the handover, at least within the App Store. There was also some warnings on Reddit and Discord, and I think Facebook as well, that any iOS players should back up their data either through Facebook or Game Center. So make sure that you do that if you're playing on iOS, so you don't randomly lose your game data if you have to reinstall. But anyways, we are here to talk about Minnerva, and so it seems like over the month of July we'll be getting a total of 55 character shards for her, so this is different than the usual 40 that we get for most calendars. So that'll be great for all players, especially those early to mid-game players, and maybe even those who haven't even unlocked her yet or have her had a low star rank. Now, why is she so important, you might ask? And for those who don't use her currently, well, she's probably the single most important character for Dark Dimension, but specifically Dark Dimension 2, which is famous for unlocking Ultron, another pretty huge character in the game. She also has incredible use in the famous Dark Dimension 3, which comes later and requires tier 14 characters. And to really understand why she's so useful, we have to look at her kit a little bit. So there's a lot of reasons why she's great all over the game, but let's take a quick look at her skills to really find out why. And the main reason why she's so useful in game modes like Dark Dimension is all because of her ultimate, Mass Phlebotomy. So this move is just amazing for shredding 15% health from all enemies and redistributing that to your allies. This might not sound much, but in game modes like Dark Dimension, enemies have a boatload of hit points. So percentage-wise, this actually takes away a lot of HP per target. Not to mention, this normally full heals your party if it's hitting like 4+ targets, and it bypasses heal block. It does do some extra regeneration to your allies and applies some bleeds to the enemies as well, but the main bulk of the point of this is coming from that 15% damage. Also, this will kill anyone with death proof if they're under 15% as well. So goodbye to enemies like Colossus, Juggernaut, Crossbones, I don't know. Any characters that have death proof, this will kill them if they're under 15%. Secondly, Minnerva was really the first consistent reviver in the game when she came out. There was Doctor Strange, I guess, but he really didn't hold a candle to Minnerva because her special has a 5 energy cooldown, which is pretty crazy compared to, I think, Doctor Strange has 8, I think, on his. Another reason why she is so useful and used frequently in not just Dark Dimension, but also Ultimus raids, including Ultimus 6 and 7, she is still very well used there. You won't go wrong by having her on your team. Her passive is actually one of the main reasons why you might have heard of the acronym BKT, or Best Kree Team, and that's because, well, she was kind of the best and only Kree team that you needed on the team. Her passive heals the most injured ally for 15% of her max hit health every time an enemy dies, and when you're running through Ultimate 6 in particular, this happens very frequently. Even in U7, this can be quite useful, although the enemies do have a little bit more hit points than the previous raids. And of course, she's great in any of the Greek raids like the Alpha Cosmic lane, the Beta Tech lanes, and the Gamma Kree lanes as well. She also synergizes fairly well with characters like Hela, because she gains 20% speed bar on an ally death, and that also includes minions like Greg, and maybe any other characters that you might have that are summonable, but mostly I would say Hela is quite common to be paired up with her. Her basic is the least important part of her kit, but it just does some damage, applies a bleed, and an extra regeneration to your most injured non-summoned ally. Fairly basic for a basic. And the great thing about Minnerva as well is that you don't really need to put any tier 4s into her. I really actually wouldn't recommend putting any because the upgrades to all of her skills are very, very minor, which is a bit unfortunate because, you know, they could have made her a lot better, but I don't really think there's anything that you need to put oranges into. She's a very great character, and you actually don't need to put too much extra resources, especially in the ability material section, so that's great for her. But yeah, that is Minnerva's kit in a nutshell, and the reason why these 55 shards are so important, as you basically can't farm her. She's only available in one place, and that's the Premium Orb. And even then, it's like a whopping 2% in her drop rates. if you look at it at the bottom, paired alongside Yo-Yo. So I really wouldn't be holding out the hopes or chances that you'll pull her in these orbs. I suppose you would likely get her maybe twice every 100 orbs or so, but I mean, RNG is RNG, and that's really not great. So these free 55 shards, totally welcome, and even myself, I still don't have her maxed out, although I am quite far along because of how generous the original Minnerva event was. And if anyone was around back then, they'll remember that the orb for her was actually, it only rewarded shards of her. And since that event, actually, which I believe was War Machine after that, included other characters on the side and in the middle, or sorry, not on the side, but in the middle, it included other characters with the orb. So Minnerva was the last one where it was just her. And I guess people were getting too many shards for the new characters, and they changed that. But that's a whole separate issue that we're not going to talk about in this video. So as you can see, I do currently have her sitting at tier 13, which is the requirement for Dark Dimension 2. I did use her quite extensively there. Unfortunately, I don't have her at tier 14 currently, which is what you need for Dark Dimension 3. It is unlikely that I'll probably get there before I complete my first round of Dark Dimension 3, but she is a character I highly recommend gearing to 14. You really should either have her or Ebony Maw, as they have similar functions, at least in the HP Drain kit part, and having both of them would be even more amazing. But there isn't a lot of people who have Ebony Maw, so at the very least you should work on getting her up and going for both Dark Dimension 2 and 3 with her. I'll definitely have her around, though, for my second run of DD3. I am running Ebony Maw in my Dark Dimension, if you've seen any of my videos, so hopefully that is a bit of a replacement for her at the moment, but probably having both of them will be even faster. And the other reason to why you want her for Dark Dimension 2 is it will save you a lot of time when going through it due to her damage from her ultimate, and that Dark Dimension 2 is the way to unlock Ultron. Previously one of the best characters in the game, he still has a ton of uses, and I wouldn't really discount him. Despite some of the new characters being released since he's come out, he is still amazing for the mid-game players, and even some of the late-game players as well, and he provides a ton of uses in raids, Alliance War, and even Arena still, depending on how advanced your shard is. He used to be the single most OP character in the game, with his Ultron bot summons through his special. They basically summon 3 different bots here that each provide a specific buff, either offense up, speed up, or some extra healing that comes through their special here, and it spreads to the party and Ultron, so really a crazy ability to have. Commonly referred to as the Ultron train, once you get these bots rolling, it can quickly get out of hand and become a one-man wrecking crew. Honestly, I still think he's incredibly useful in almost all game modes, although his endgame usefulness is a bit debatable, particularly in Dark Dimension 3. I originally took him up to tier 14, because I was using him a lot in Arena, and also I wanted to use him in Dark Dimension 3. But as I started using him, especially in the global lanes, I quickly found out that he wasn't as useful as I would like. He's a bit on the slower side, and I kind of wish I could trade in some of the tier 14 stuff that I used for him to put into like Shuri or someone else who I don't have right now, and I think that would have been a lot better. He takes a huge chunk of mini uniques for tech as well, which can eat into gearing some other tech characters like Scientist Supreme or Shuri, Minnerva, who is also tech. So I'm not sure I would recommend tier 14 for him anymore, but I did get a lot of use out of him in Arena at the time, so, you know, things change as the game develops. But despite all this, you know, he's still well worth gearing up, at least to tier 13, and putting orange is still, you won't regret it no matter what point in the game you're at, unless maybe you watch this video a year from now, and power creep really hits him a lot harder. And that's just a quick video about Minnerva. After seeing the news about the free 55 shard calendar, I just wanted to get a video out there explaining why people shouldn't pass her over if they haven't invested in her all that much, or might not even have her unlocked. I'm glad that everyone's going to get a chance to unlock her. She's really helpful in a lot of game modes. And I also want to say, because I forgot to say it earlier, that she's completely usable no matter what her red stars are, because it doesn't really impact her kit all that much, and especially her ultimate, it doesn't actually matter what star or red star rank she is to use that. So get gearing her up for those game modes, even if you're afraid that you don't have very many star levels on her, she's awesome for those. But that's all from me today, and as always, if you guys enjoyed the video, then please hit that like button and consider subscribing to see more Marvel Strike Force content. Also, comment down below how you guys are doing on Minnerva Shards. I don't think I've really got her to drop that often, so these shards will help me on my way to 7-star. But anyways, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their week, and until next time guys, stay safe. Boylon signing out.